Well, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Residual Earners, episode 7. And we have got a show lined up for you. I mean, it's going to be amazing. You're going to be so excited you're here. We have me sitting in for Jordan, and we've got Miss Reagan Rue sitting in for me. She's better looking than I am, so that's good. But anyway, we've got a special guest, and I'm going to pass this over to Miss Reagan to introduce our special guest.
Well, I would be honored to introduce this guest because, one, I actually met her through Presley's. It was a connection through Presley. She saw one of these podcasts and reached out, and we have both learned from each other. I've learned a tremendous amount from Juli, so here is Juli Pitra.
Hi, Juli Pitra.
Yes, I didn't know how to pronounce her last name. Pitra.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate guru, investor, coach, all kinds of things. But let's get started. What? No, there's a better way to phrase this. Tell your story. Tell your story of how you got started.
Tell my story and how I got started in real estate.
Who are you? Because you're also known as Mama Juli.
I am known as Mama Juli on TikTok.
So let's talk about who is Juli.
Who is Juli? Well, I grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado. There we go. Make sure we got that right. I grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then I left Colorado to go to school at Georgia Tech and became a nuclear engineer by degree. Went into the engineering field, the power industry field, and then decided I'd like to go to grad school. So I went and got my MBA. And then got derailed from the corporate path because I met a wonderful man that I'm married to now. We've been married almost 28 years. We've got 2 grown kids that are out of the house. But about 10 years ago, when I turned 50, I decided I want to do something else. Once I got married, I was pretty much a stay-at-home wife. And then once we had kids, I was a stay-at-home wife and mom. And then when I turned 50, I said, I don't want to do that anymore. And I was looking for something to do and happened into real estate.
Just happened into real estate.
Just happened into real estate.
Well,
with some direction.
Finish that story. How did you just happen into real estate?
So as a 50th birthday present, I built a pool. You know, I didn't build it with my bare hands, but during the course of that process, my contractor flatlined. He had a heart attack and flatlined twice on the operating table, so was unavailable to finish my pool. And I took over for him, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed actually directing that type of renovation project. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll just come work for him and help him with his clients. But I did not like that. I like doing stuff for myself, but clients it's a whole new thing. I was discussing, hey, I'd like to do something that's not corporate with our investment advisor, the guy who manages our stocks and bonds. And he said, hey, why don't you get into real estate? That's what I do. I said, okay, I'll try that. He said, first get some education. And I said, okay, I'll try that. And then fell in love. It's really what I was meant to do. I should have been doing it all these years.
I love it. I think I told you that back in the day, I had my real estate license.
You did?
I did. I was with a company called Century 21, and kind of like you, I didn't get quite as deep into it, but I thought, I don't know that I really want to be a real estate agent, but I love real estate. I want to be the one buying and fixing up and selling and doing the big things, So I did that. And I'm guessing in my entire career in real estate, somewhere 75-ish houses I've probably flipped where I bought them, fixed them up, and sold them. And
That's a lot.
It's a bunch. And believe it or not, guys, I actually used to do a lot of the work. I wouldn't do that now, or I guess I would if I had to, but I don't have to now, thank the Lord. But I've roofed houses and done the tape and bed and texture, and I've done all that sort of stuff. So I love real estate too.
I love real estate. I haven't done the physical labor so much. How I started was I started investing passively in multifamily, and then that wasn't quite assuaging that need to be involved. And so on I think it was my 3rd or 4th deal, I can't really remember, the real estate agent involved messed me up. So I decided, well, I'll never let that happen again. So I became a real estate agent basically to protect my own interests. And to this day, I'm better with investors people who are rational about their real estate rather than emotional about their real estate.
Yeah, it gets real emotional when you're dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner.
Yes. Not my strong suit, but I'm good at analyzing deals. I'm good at making the deal happen. But as far as whether or not the home feels like home or they have attachments, I'm not very sentimental, so that's not my strong suit.
I got you.
So
What's your thoughts on real estate, Reagan?
I was obsessed with real estate about 2 years ago. And one of my friends checked me because I started investigating, where can I invest and how would I invest? And I had a friend that asked me, are you in a place where you can go buy a house at auction and go do this thing? And I said, no. And they're like, then you shouldn't be focused on real estate right now. You should be focused on your business. And I said, okay, yeah, no, you're right.
Yep.
I mean, I was diving deep. I was so obsessed. I was asking everybody questions. And I had a good friend say, if you spent the same amount of time focused on your business, you'll grow your business to a point that the next conversation about real estate we'll be having is when you have the funds, because you grew your business, you got the funds, and now you can invest into real estate. So I took that as my sign not to focus on it. I had a goal to buy a house at one point in 2023. I was advised not to with interest rates. I was advised by people to just continue renting. So real estate's something that I am passionate about. I think as I grow my goal would be to grow my business, to turn around and sell it, or to hire a CEO and then use, my wealth to invest into real estate and do that. Because I think even when I shadowed you for a day,
that was a fun day, wasn't it?
It was so much fun. And I'm here for all of it. I'm here for, what I saw that day. We went and toured a home that somebody, I think, was there homeless people living in it or something?
I believe they were squatters, and they
Yeah.
couldn't quite make it to the restroom when they needed to. They just did it wherever. It was
Their restroom. It was a restroom.
The whole house was their oyster, so to speak.
That was my first experience in that field, was seeing their restroom. And even then I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, it was
This
cool.
is cool.
Yeah, when we were buying those houses, fixing them up and selling them, I've walked in houses where you just go, and people were living
Yes.
here. And you're just holding your nose as you're walking through, and you're going, people actually were living like this. It's pretty disgusting sometimes. But that's when you can usually get some good deals, though.
That's where the bargains are. And as distasteful as that might be to consider living there, someone like you or like me, we're not walking in there to live there. We're like, where are the ka-ching dollar signs in this endeavor? And that's where the fun is. Now, I haven't done that many flips. It's not my strong suit, but I have done some. And there are many different ways to invest in real estate. Primarily, I have followed what's called the BRRRR method, which is the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. Excellent for buy and hold investors. Great way to recirculate your working capital. That has been where I've done most of my work.
So kind of walk us through just a hypothetical project that you were doing the BRRRR method with.
Hypothetical. What I think a good one is my first project. My first one threw me back a loop. I thought I was destined to fail at that project. I bought the house this was in 2015. I bought the house for $60,000. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath with a garage out in Grand Prairie. I was very new to the game, and so I went with the estimate that was given to me how much it would take to get that to rentable status. It turned out to be a little over twice that. So when it was time to do the refinance part, I was underwater, which meant the amount of money I was in the deal in cash was less than the valuation of the project. So I had more cash in the deal than I had intended. I was tempted to kind of bail on that project, but a really good friend and mentor told me at the time, and I repeat these watchwords: real estate is forgiving in the long haul. Hold on to it, maintain your cash flow and your cushion so you can withstand the cyclical parts of real estate, and it will pan out in the end. So I've had that project almost 10 years, or a little over, 10 years. And it's been a great project. I mean, the value now is in the 300s. I've had good tenants each and every year. I had the first tenants probably almost 8 years. And then they moved on, and at this point, I'm probably ready to divest of that asset and put that equity somewhere, because at some point when your properties just increase, your return on equity falls really low. And then at this point, as a result of the surge of 2022, the cash flow is diminished because insurance and taxes have gone up so much. So it's going to make a lot of good sense to divest myself of that house and put that money into another project.
Okay, so you bought the house, you go in and you rehab it, you get it looking nice, you get a tenant in there.
Yes, sir.
Now you go to a lending institution and say, I've got this beautiful home with this
house.
Solid tenant that's seasoned. I want to get a loan.
I want to get a loan. So my first loan like that was just a normal conventional loan. It was required that I season the property for 6 months, which means I had to own it for 6 months, and then I could use the new value to get a loan. And I think that loan was like 75% loan to value. So I was still a little bit more in cash. The rubric that I use mostly is cash on cash return, which is after I do all that, after I buy it and renovate it and whatever, and then refinance how much cash is left, and then the rent less all of my expenses, I try to stay above 15%. That particular deal, it turned out I got higher rent than I thought I was going to get. So I was right at 15%, but I had more in it than I had wanted to keep in it. And at first I felt like a failure. But all these years now, it's been an absolutely greatly performing asset. I'm just excited about that.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just because for me, obviously I want to do this eventually in the future, and I'm going to reach out to you for help. But something that scares me is I have a really hard time not being emotional. And I was with another friend who does the Burr method. They go to the county, is it the office or
they go to auctions?
They go to auctions and they'll buy a house, and then typically they got to evict somebody on these foreclosure homes. And I was there one day where they were showing me the house that they bought, and the family was still in there, and the mom was outside crying, and she pointed at her 14-year-old daughter and she said, "You want to take away her home? We just need another month. You want to take away her home?" And he was like, "Listen, if you have the funds and you want to rent this house from me after I'm done, I'll be happy to talk. But what you did, not paying and what has happened has nothing to do with me. Somebody's going to buy this house.
Right.
Somebody's going to do this. I'm sorry that it's me." And I was sitting here almost in tears. I was like, well, maybe there's something you can do, and maybe you can do something on the kindness of your heart.
So is your question how to not be emotional?
How to not be emotional, because I've learned in my business not to get offended. There's hardly any times that cause me to be emotional. So I've done a good job at that. But to take away somebody's home, it hits me deeply. My parents, they were part of a nationwide scam, a mortgage scam. I don't know if you guys heard of it. I don't really remember the name, but not to go into too much detail, they were paying a third-party mortgage, and that third party wasn't paying anybody else. They took all the money, so they scammed a bunch of people. And one day we just get a letter, and it's like, you have 30 days to get out of this house, our house with our horses and everything that we loved. So that part of the process, for me particularly, I think I obviously have some background, but how do you separate, what's going on when you're evicting somebody personally with what you're doing? Is it pretty easy for you, or?
I won't say it's easy, but it's not hard, because I may not be emotional about a particular house or the color of the paint or the layout, but I am very emotional about my money. And
Yeah, I like that.
and that I get it when I'm due.
And you heard her say in her introduction that she's not real sentimental. So, I mean, you got to keep this in mind. So
I'm not really sentimental. I won't say this is every single person, but chances are the person who got to that point was due to a lack of accountability on their part, which in my mind has nothing to do with me, like absolutely nothing. And there have been a couple of times, one in particular where I was at a house where we had to evict. No, I'm sorry. At that point, the eviction had gone through, and then she went back to the house because the property manager hadn't changed the keys. And so I called the police. And she was there crying, saying, "You don't know what I've gone through." And I said, "I don't care what you've gone through." I put her on Facebook Live.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I don't think I'm a mean person, but here's the truth. If you are in a position where financially you can't afford your house, the first thing you need to do is reach out to the person that has the power to put you out. If you don't bother to reach out, if you don't bother to make good, if all you do is think, "I'm going to let it happen, I'm going to let this steamroll over me," and it does, it's no longer like my fault. But if someone comes to me and they say, "I am having trouble, this is my plan to get better," and then they act on that, well, that's a good tenant. That's a good value proposition. Just like I said in the beginning, when I was doing real estate and I wanted to quit, I thought it was going to be a bad proposition. But someone who's just quit on themselves can't expect me to pick up the slack.
I saw this on TikTok. Someone was talking about credit and things like this. And maybe we've talked about it before, but when you show somebody, don't contact your landlord or, wherever you owe money. Don't contact the person in power and say, "I can't pay, I need a deal." You contact them with the intent to pay. So you say, "I intend to pay, but I just can't afford.
And this is how.
Yeah, I can't afford this current, price. So I intend to pay. How can we negotiate?" Is there ever a situation where you negotiate? Can someone negotiate with their landlord if they're having a rough month?
Of course, someone can negotiate if they're having a rough month, but they need to have some kind of discernment, awareness, whatever, on how they're going to get past that rough month. I will not carry someone who's having a rough month and a rough month and a rough month, and there's no chance of change, because then I'm having rough months, and then I get cranky.
Yeah. I think it was Jeff Steer. That's who was talking about it in our previous, in our run with winners. He was saying, when you're trying to get your debt taken care of, call the agencies with an intent to pay. Because if you show that you actually want to pay, you're just not able to do it at that cost, people will work with you. So
no, and I loved that run with winners. I thought he was awesome, and I've had my session with him. I think it's important for people everywhere to take accountability for their own responsibilities. And if they don't, then they get steamrolled over. And if they get steamrolled over, then they want to play the victim card to people like me that they're trying to victimize. They are trying to scam me. It is a scam to go into a contract. I come with good faith and provide a decent place to live. I think that person is coming with good faith that they're going to pay on time and not cause trouble, take care of the property. I mean, that's what landlords want. They want you to pay on time. They want you to take care of the property and not cause trouble to the neighbors around. If you do that, if you've demonstrated that, then you have a very good chance of being able to negotiate if something comes up. And I advise investors that I mentor, you cannot be a softie and do this well, because the bank, when they come calling, they don't listen to any of those stories.
No. And I used to have people, give me some sob story, and I'd say, this is back when I was coaching and I just started this. I didn't have any money. I'd say, listen, I take what you pay me, and that's what I make my payment with. So if you don't pay me, then the payment doesn't get made on this property. And, you got to look at, like you said, you got to care about your money.
You have to care about your money.
You have to care about your money. And I don't like it for the person, but it is what it is. Either you pay me or you got to get out, because I've got to have the rent coming in.
Exactly. And, the other thing that is fascinating to me is how the perception of mom and pop landlords like me, that we're just so wealthy and we have all of this money and, it's their house and they should have the house because they've been paying the mortgage. And I'm thinking, well, feel free to buy it, pay the down payment, pay the insurance, pay all the prepaids, pay the closing costs, qualify for a loan, get in there, take care of it when there's maintenance problems. I'm all for that. But since they don't want that responsibility, they are paying for the convenience of having someone else take care of it for them. I am providing that convenience. When I do a job, when I do services, I expect to be paid for it. I don't think that there's a break between being humane and wanting payment for services rendered.
No.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got advice for people wanting to get into real estate, they're wanting to be an investor.
Wanting to be an investor.
Give these folks that are watching us today some advice if they're wanting to be an investor.
Well, I would say for me, and mess with this a little bit, the best thing that happened to me is I had great mentors and coaches. Get your education, learn the basics, define what your success parameters will be. As in anything, you should know what success looks like, and then get some mentorship, get some help, because it can be fraught with difficulty. And if I hadn't had a good mentor, I would have quit on the first project. So you need someone to keep you motivated, to keep you encouraged, and help you find a way out when you are doing something that kind of can be this variable and this up and down.
And from my experience, usually I've very seldom had a deal where there wasn't some glitch of some sort.
There's always a glitch.
Yeah.
I've not had a perfect transaction.
No. So you got to realize that you got to be flexible and you got to be ready to handle stuff. And it's usually going to cost you a little more than you're anticipating. And it's
rarely less.
usually going to take a little longer
Longer.
than you're anticipating.
Yep.
So
You are exactly right. So I remember my very first rental home, my very first flip. For some reason, I decided the first one out the gate would be an over 4,000 square foot house. And I then listened to someone else on valuation. I had an idea of how much I thought it would be. Someone else told me, oh, it's way more. So it sat on the market. And the whole idea behind the flip is to get in and to get out as fast as you can. Was a beautiful house. I check on it from time to time. In retrospect, I could have made that a rental. It was in Plano. It was a good-sized house. The people who bought it from me lived in it for a while, and they've rented it ever since. And I'm like, that could have been me. The other thing I would say, you cannot operate in real estate investing or really any kind of investing from a place of fear. You have acceptable risks. You need to be able to take them. Sometimes those risks will play out, and sometimes they don't. But as long as overall you're accumulating money, sometimes you take the L and then you celebrate the wins and keep going. You can't get, I think of it like Hope Solo, who was on the soccer team, and it was the 2001 World Cup, I believe. And she was trying to block penalty shots. And I saw one where I was watching with my daughter, the shot went through, she missed it. She walked off, shrugged it off, and came back and performed on the next one. And that's kind of how you have to be in any endeavor worth doing. Shrug it off and keep going.
Short memory on those bad shots.
Yes, short memory on the bad shots. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, where do you focus? What areas do you focus on? Are there particular areas? Do you go, hey, I really like this area, I don't like that area? I mean, are there areas like that?
No, I focused on the numbers. As a result, I guess as of late last year, I had homes all over the place in different states and all over Texas, and I am divesting. It's a lot of work. It's very hard to have boots on the ground in one place that qualify for boots on the ground in another place. So I am definitely trying to get rid of a lot of properties, simplify it, put them into something more concentrated.
You know, when I was doing this, I focused on Mesquite. This is suburbs of Dallas for you guys outside of the area, but Mesquite and Garland. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a lot of houses there, so you had plenty to work with. But the thing I loved about focusing on Mesquite and Garland, now I couldn't do it today because I've been out of it for a while, but back then I could drive into a neighborhood and I could tell you what the house was worth. Mm-hmm. I didn't even have to do an appraisal on it because I did so many back then that I'd go, hey, that house is worth $150. I mean, I just knew it when I drove up. I knew what it would cost to get a new roof put on, or if it needed foundation work, how much each pier would cost. I just had it down. And do you recommend somebody that's just starting out maybe focusing on one area where you can get a better feel for how much stuff is and how much it's going to cost? Or do you just say wherever you find the best deal?
I would say focus on getting that mentor that can guide you, and then be prepared for the first deal. Because if you try to wait for the perfect first deal, it's going to take you a while. Sometimes you have to pull the trigger so you can get the experience. And I don't think it's important to pick a certain location as long as you have support, boots on the ground in that location.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, somebody that can guide you as far as values,
Somebody that
and
can
stuff
guide
like
you.
that.
Yeah.
Because that is true, is that you make your money when you buy it.
Yes. And I've talked about that. I talked about that on your Win with Winners. It's like the life cycle of real estate starts at the time you get it under contract. And then it ends when you get rid of the asset. So it can be a very long sort of life cycle, like if you buy and you hold for a while and hold for a while, or it can be short when it's a flip. But the important thing is all of the negotiating, all of the analysis has to be done correctly before you pull the trigger. And then you have to have an idea of exit strategies and interim costs and contingencies and all of that. In my first 3 projects, between those 3, everything went wrong that could have gone wrong. I think that was the best training. I think maybe the worst thing would have been is if I had gone through my first deal and it was nearly perfect. I wouldn't have learned as much as I've learned going through the heebie-jeebies.
And then you might have gone into a bigger deal and had a chance to lose money if everything had just gone perfect on the first 3. You might have jumped into something a little bigger too.
Well, I did jump into a partnership that was quite damaging financially. I had a little bit of hubris because I thought, everything I touch turns to gold. Everything's going to be wonderful. Took my eyes off the prize with somebody else in the money pot. That didn't turn out well. So I am less likely to let people mess around in my money and not have accountability. I say less likely. I am absolutely not going to let anyone have that lack of accountability when it comes to my money. Have I learned from that? I jumped into an apartment complex with very little preparation, and that has dragged out. On the flip side, it turned out beautifully. I've learned a lot. So what is it you say, Preston?
Win or learn.
Win or learn. Win or learn.
Yeah. I've learned on a couple of deals.
Yeah, I've learned.
Yep.
I've learned. Sometimes the learning stings a bit, but as long as you take the lessons to heart and put them toward the next endeavor, it's a win-win, actually, at that point.
Yep. Jump in there, Reagan. I know you got questions.
So when I was researching this, and even when I do today, there's so many different ways to invest into real estate.
Yes.
And you're getting fed all kinds of content on the internet. The funny thing about the internet is somebody will be telling you something as if it's like a matter of fact, way better than the other thing. So when I come across a video and it says, this is how you can flip your first home. Don't do Airbnb. Don't do the BRRRR method. Do this first. And then I see people doing the BRRRR method, and they're like, don't even mess with the flips. Do this. Rent a duplex, rent one side out, and they'll give you some strategies. And then you have the Airbnb people that are like, don't even do any of that. Airbnb's nice over here. We're making more money, and it's very short term, but you get on and everybody's got this reason why to not do the other method. And it's for someone like me that I don't know. I'm a newbie. I don't know what method I would take. I don't know what's best for me. So as somebody that says, you know what, I see what real estate has done for others. I want to build a real estate empire. I want to make some passive income. What is the best first step for me? How would somebody choose?
How would somebody choose? I think that is a great question that has a bunch of different parts. So if you don't mind, I'll run with that. For me, when I first got into real estate, cash flow and tax advantage strategies were most important. You have to know why you're going into it. There are people that go into real estate, they say they want to invest. To me, investing means you've accumulated something and you put your money to work and it goes out there and it brings back more friends. If you don't have any money, then you're not investing, you're hustling, which is fine. You can hustle so that you can accumulate, so that you can then invest. But whenever you invest in money, you should know what your success parameters are. Are you a return on investment? Are you a return on equity? Are you a cash flow? Are you, whatever it is, once you define what's your most important parameter, and you can do that with the help of a mentor or a coach, that helps you kind of go to which type of investing is going to be best for you. I don't particularly care for flipping because it's a lot of work to flip a house. And you can get caught by the variability of the market and take a loss on a property. Whereas if you're prepared to hold it and you have the long-term mindset, and I believe in this wholeheartedly, if you start an endeavor, you educate yourself, you stay committed, and you stay for the long haul, then you stay past the variability and you get to the success. I do not believe in short-term success. I do not believe in get rich quick. Does it happen? Yes. Am I going to count on it? Absolutely not. I believe in the long haul. Since I believe in the long haul, for me, the Burr method works best. I've done wholesales. I've made a nice little assignment on those assignment fee, which is the money that you make on a wholesale deal. I still remember each and every deal I wholesaled and thought, I should have bought that, renovated it. I always think that, every single one. I've done flips, and I think I should have kept that. It would have been worth so much more money now. And I like creative financing. I like being the lender as well. I think, Presley, you told me you have some owner finance properties. I think those are absolutely delicious as well. Once you decide what it is you want to do, where your risk profile is applicable, and that's another thing, you need some help determining what your risk profile is, and then you go in that and you stick with it, and you don't give up at the first time or the second time, like anything, right? Then you will ultimately be successful if you never, ever give up. But for me, I guess the thing to start with, I want to be in real estate. Okay, do you want cash flow? Do you want wealth building? Do you want tax mediation strategies? Do you want to build a portfolio of notes and be very much hands-off? Do you want to be completely passive and just invest in somebody else's deal and vet them? What do you want to do? What enables you to still live the life you want to live while using real estate as a vehicle? Sorry that was so long, but I think I covered all that.
No, that was good.
No, you did. And, my recommendation is, flip a house. See if that's your thing. If that's not flipping a thing, do the Burr method on a house. See if that's your thing.
Yeah.
If, try an Airbnb. I mean, you can always sell an Airbnb later if you need to. Try a couple of the different things that are out there and just see which ones you like. Because, I was a flipper. She's a Burr method. I mean, something's going to stick with you that you go, hey, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And just try a couple of different things and just see how it works out.
It may come down to what you enjoy in the process.
Yeah.
So I have some friends, they do Airbnb and they love it because they enjoy the process of getting new people in every month and different stories and things like that. So
I wanted to do an Airbnb. I bought a house and renovated it with a plan of doing an Airbnb, my first Airbnb, and then COVID hit. And I sold it from a place of fear.
Yeah.
It was a lovely house in Plano.
Yeah.
Also, partner with someone who is doing it. Say, hey, I want to contribute in this deal that you're doing.
Yeah.
Work that out.
I was going to ask that. There's third parties. We saw one the other day where they're telling you can learn how to invest in a real estate. You can give $100 and we'll show you your property. So they created some sort of, I don't know what to call it. There's these third party platforms where they're telling people they can invest. Of course, their returns are probably so low, but what is there a way if I'm working with an investor and let's say, okay, I don't want to throw a ton of cash at this, but I want to go into the deal. Can I get in the deal at a lower amount? I may not get the best return, but I'm getting experience.
Well, you can always invest in a REIT, which is a real estate investment trust, and they get pretty decent returns, but you don't get the tax benefits of investing in real estate. And generally speaking, you don't get the experience. You don't get the fingers in the pot. I was interested in starting a while ago a group where I said, okay, if you sign up, I'll let you invest toward this, And then you guys kind of come with me on these road trips and you do everything with me. But I have stopped investing in Dallas, Fort Worth. And so I don't know. It got really expensive. I wasn't getting the returns that I want. I don't know anyone that wants to drive all over Texas like I do.
Yeah.
So if I had a group that wanted to do that, I would certainly support it. I don't think you're able to do much with $100. So my first passive deal was 6 figures,
Yeah.
vetted the person, and it turned out really well. They more than doubled our money, which was great inside of 3 years. But again, that's not to me investing in real estate. That's investing in somebody else
Yeah.
who is investing in real estate.
Yeah, if you're wanting to learn, there's nothing like doing the
Nothing
deal
like it.
yourself. I mean, from signing that first contract to going through the rehab and having a contractor stiff you, and you learn how to vet a contractor to, oh my gosh, the AC unit went out. That wasn't in my figures. You just start
Didn't pass inspections.
The inspection, and now all of a sudden I got to redo something I didn't think I was going to have to redo.
Exactly.
And I'm back to saying it's going to cost more and take longer than you're anticipating.
Yes.
So figure a little bit of maybe at least 10% more than what you're thinking, because there's always going to be something you run into that you weren't anticipating.
I have a suggestion that depending on the after repair value of the house, to have 30 to 40% of that laid away, even if you use leverage, because things go wrong, things go long. And you need to be able to make it through to the end of the project without the fact that the end came too soon, derailing you completely. A project can be profitable and you still lose money. And a lot of people don't know how that makes sense, but it's possible because you're not managing.
That happens to me in my business, which is completely different in real estate. But I started structuring pricing to have the cushion, and there always ends up being more work that needs to be done. And the worst thing is selling something to someone and then saying, oh, well, you wanted these extra 5 things. It's going to cost. And, you would seem that's normal because they're asking for extra stuff. But when you're dealing with a customer and customer service, you want to be able to say, I got you. Let's get that handled. No worries. Let's get it done. You don't want to have to keep throwing prices at them. In my field, it just gets messy. So we've learned throughout experience, there's always going to be more requests and more things, and we add that cushion, and then it's always fulfilled, and then it's never a conversation. But I'm always, my pricing's good. They only see one price. The price isn't changing, and then unless there was nothing that needed to be done, there have been times that I've been able to give people money back. Hey, I've actually been able to give people that you asked for this animation on your website. This is going to be the projected cost because we really don't know the exact amount of hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been able to give people some money back. But hey, we got this done in fewer hours than we expected. I already had my margins. I already had my stuff. But I think the process is throughout time, I've now learned what are those things that usually end up happening.
What are your contingencies?
Exactly.
Yes, I do believe in building in contingencies. I'm not sure I would ever rebate based on contingencies because my contingency factor is kind of just a fudge number.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'm going to be over and upside down. Sometimes I'm going to be under. It sort of fluctuates. I don't have a problem saying, I negotiated this based on the information I had. This is the delivery. And I think it's come from real estate. When you walk into a house, particularly if you're not doing everything like I'm doing, something's going to come up. Yeah. The first house I did, I didn't anticipate doing foundation. I didn't anticipate changing out the sewer line. I didn't anticipate demolishing a shed. I didn't anticipate putting in an HVAC system. That was my ignorance. Now I like the properties where the foundation is jacked up. I'm assuming all new plumbing. It's HVAC. It's all the drywall. It's reframing. It's the garage. It's the landscaping. And then it's all of the cosmetics. For me, my mind works well in that realm.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with clients, though, when I am investing for myself.
No, you are
That
the client.
I am
That's-
the client.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So when you are managing that's a client relationship sort of factor that I don't have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are different that way.
And you learn when you're
And you
dealing
learn.
with foundations, which I didn't the first couple of times, is
Neither
that
did I.
you jack a foundation up a few inches. Well, it's pulling on those plumbing lines.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, it's not just a foundation job.
No,
it's
it's
now
a
I got to
plumbing
do a
job.
lot of plumbing work. So you just, from being in the business, you learn it. Well, believe it or not, we've gone about 45 minutes. Give people about couple of minutes of just final thoughts. They're wanting to get into real estate investing. Just what's some final thoughts?
Okay. There are 3 that I'd like to share. The first is that it's important to find a mentor that can help motivate you. One of my mentors was actually someone who, I guess, embarrassed me. There was a deal that I saw that he saw, I passed. And he talked about it at a networking function about how he made this great deal, the cash flow, and how I had passed on it because I couldn't see it. There are a couple of ways you could take that kind of embarrassment. You could say, I'm embarrassed. I don't like him. He embarrassed me. It's his fault. Or, like I did, I made my way and I said, I don't want to miss out on another deal. I want to learn how to think outside the box. Will you teach me? And then I hounded him until he was willing to take a chance on me and teach me. So sometimes, I guess the first thing, if you're going to do anything like that, know that there's a smackdown coming. Learn to be grateful. Say, thank you, sister. May I have another? Just, that's going to be okay. The second thing is, if you're going into any endeavor, go with a long-term focus. Go with, I will not quit. I will not stop. Now, you can't be crazy about it, but realize that quitting at the first difficulty in any endeavor is going to stop you from making it. So learn how to roll with things. Learn how to get back up. And then number 3, before you get started, you have to, for yourself, identify your success factors. Because if you don't, you won't be successful because you won't have any idea of what it is to be successful in that endeavor. So define that from the beginning. Identify the goal, define the success factors. Realize you're going to get smacked down and find someone that's going to help you grow, not assuage your whatever, your ego. I was trying to come up with another way, but ego works.
Ego. You're amazing, Julie.
Why, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You're amazing. You know, we love you. Appreciate you greatly. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate your vast amount of knowledge that you just shared with lots of people today. Reagan, you did an amazing job as a co-host, as always.
Thank you.
We appreciate Reagan as well. She's a social media guru. So we've got a real estate guru and a social media guru over there. So we appreciate both you ladies.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, yes, ma'am. Don't think this is going to be your last time sitting on that couch. Guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate everybody. By the way, if you haven't checked residualearnersuniversity.com out, check that out. As a matter of fact, both of these ladies, Reagan is actually a partner with me in that deal, and Julie's a satisfied customer, I think, in the deal.
Customer.
So we appreciate everybody checking it out. If you're looking for a community to run with, jump in there. Do you have anything you want to say about it?
Other than the things you said, Residual Earners University is a phenomenal community, guys. Julie's in it. Obviously, she's a big contributor. People love her. This is one of the most positive places. Seriously, I think there's people that even said they deleted their Facebook and Instagram and they just use our community as their social media because the school platform kind of looks like a social media platform. They designed it that way. If you want to access a community of people that are going to elevate you, keep you accountable, support you, then this is the place.
Yeah, tell them real quick the story about people doing TikTok lives and how many people are jumping on with them to support them and stuff.
Yeah, so we have hundreds of people in the community, and anytime somebody goes live, there's people that will actually post, "Hey, I'm about to go live in the community," and they'll get several individuals that will go to their TikTok, join their live, and support them. And this is really important because all of us have started going live, and we know what it feels like to get on and there's nobody on there. Okay, as much as I'm pretending there's people on there, I see the numbers. I know there's nobody on there besides my mom and my sister that I asked to be on there. So when you have a community of people that are willing to go on and comment, not only is the engagement, does it help you, but it just feels good to have people asking questions and supporting you. And people don't realize this is so valuable with starting your TikTok journey. They'll go and comment on your videos, like your videos, save your videos. I even have, now that I'm receiving hate comments, the community's going in and supporting me. They're getting against my haters. So if you want a community of people, no matter what you do, if you're starting a TikTok journey, if you own a business, they will support you. They will give you the support you need to grow.
Amen. Well, again, go check it out, residualearnersuniversity.com. And again, Julie, thank you. Thank you, Reagan. We'll see you guys next time.